Hey everyone, Dan here. It is just after close on Monday, April 26th. Today we're going to look at Palantir and kind of do a deep dive into the charts only. And we're going to divide it up into two segments. The first segment is going to be on the macro level. So we're going to be looking at the 3-month, 2-hour chart and kind of see how things are looking there. And then we're going to look at the indicators that are attributed to that same time frame. And then we're going to blow up that chart, erase it all, and go to the 5-day, 5-minute chart, so the micro, to get a sense of what to look for on a shorter time frame, chart that out, and then we'll also look at the indicators just as they pertain to that shorter time frame. And this is hopefully to account for folks who are playing a little bit of a longer game, maybe an investing type timeline or a longer swing trade timeline. That's going to benefit from this, the first half of the video. If you're doing something like day trading, short swing trades, short dated options contracts, those sorts of things, you might be better suited toward the second half, the micro trends. But if you're like me, you actually often have more than one strategy on Palantir, a longer and a shorter. So in that case, both would work. So before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And let's get right into it. So here's the 3-month, 2-hour. And obviously you see this big beat down from 45 way back about 3 months ago. So let's first sort of like note the big pressure under which, like the downtrend pressure under which Palantir has been. And not quite sure where the top is because, I suppose we could say the top was here. Let's do that for fair measure to not start off on a pessimistic foot with Palantir. Which I know I was pessimistic on it a few months ago and I got a lot of blowback for it. And then I know with how frustrating Palantir has been lately, a bunch of folks have jumped on the bandwagon. But I don't want to just lull ourselves into the sense of like sad complacency with Palantir. So let's give it the benefit of the doubt, say that, if we're going to have a downtrend, it's going to encompass this high, and that this may be the breakouts of that downtrend. So on the 3-month chart, that would be really impressive. That would be a very good sign, right? Because that's a very long-term downtrend for this to be breaking. And then, the other thing to note is basically this like very strong support here at 2014. So maybe we would turn that red. I think I've talked about this in videos before. On my longer Palantir position, I have a stop loss set right about $20 in case that 2020, 2018, 2015 level doesn't hold. So, this is what I would be looking for in the very, very near term. I think a good cautionary level, if you wanted to look for places to, if you wanted to maybe take a quicker stop loss, here's another area that I would typically call a cautionary zone. And then let's look at our upper price targets, because for me, again, a stop loss is either 21.40 or $20-ish. And anything else is just gravy above that. So I would say there's an immediate support zone right about here at 23.08. So if it does dip back down, I would be looking for it to bounce off of that. That would keep it also from entering back into this longer term downtrend that it's finally off of. Kind of wouldn't be surprised if it starts hitting its head right around this area. All this previous topping out here did develop support, was support here, was support here, was support here. So these are really good zones that have been both support and resistance in the past. Those are the ones that we really, really like to see. Here's another one, support area previously turned into resistance area. And so there's another, so if we went a little bit more, now we'll get into our more aggressive price targets. So these are places where, like, if you want to hold out for a higher price target, maybe you have like something like this in mind, like getting over 30, but you want to take some profit off the table if you have a decent sort of cost basis now because of all the averaging down you've been able to do. These might be areas that you could trim, knowing that it could hit some resistance along these areas. So I know this is a ton, which is like not my favorite thing to do because it kind of feels like a cheapening of the price targets to have so many. But what I would do is basically say, there's going to be a very methodical path back to 30 if Palantir is going to go back to 30, which I think at some point it will. It's already been a lot longer than I expected it to be, so I'm a little reluctant to put a time frame on it. This has turned out to be a slippery fish, but I do feel really confident in that cautionary zone and in that stop loss, and then to say that 23 bucks is really solid first support at this point. And then what I'm not planning to like trim my current position, but if I do take another position, what I would look for is I would just grab some upper price target. So let's say I took a position at around this 24 bucks where it is right now. Maybe I would say I'll take 25% of my shares and I'll sell them at 27 bucks. And then I'll take another 25% and I'll sell them at 29.50 or something like that. Something close to that 29.77, assuming it's going to bounce there. It might get some resistance. And then maybe I'll take like 100%, the remaining portion of my profit. There's going to be a zone like here too at like 34 bucks, before it hits that resistance. So that's what I would kind of do. Just select a few of them that have some room in between them, and just sort of say, these are going to be my select few of these price targets to trim out at, to lock in profits as we go. And then, if there's another dip, I will have already locked in some profit. Maybe I can use some of that profit to dip buy if the dip looks like it's a good buying opportunity, which not all dips are, as I'm sure you know by now if you've been playing Palantir. But some dips are very, very, very good buy options. So this is what I look for on the longer term chart. All right, so just kind of pause the video here if you need more time to look at this or if you want to screenshot it or whatever, because I'm about to delete it. So here we go. I'm going to delete that. And now we're going to go to the 5-day, 5-minute chart and see how things look very different. So the most obvious thing here is that there's a nice channel that's formed, right? We're going to grab most of the price action. Let's see. It's a very, very tight channel. It's too tight. Let's say it's about here. So we'll cut off some at the top. We'll come off some at the bottom. It's always nice, more conservative if you cut off some of the top, because then if you're taking your profit at the top of the channel, you're not waiting for it to get to a level that was sort of like an outlier. So as a reminder, before I talk through this channel, the way that we play channels is we take our dip buys toward the bottom of the channel, assuming that it's going to hold. And if it doesn't, then we might set a tight stop loss underneath because eventually all channels break. And then what we do is we ride that action up toward, the top half of the channel or toward the top of the channel itself in order to take profit. So this hasn't done a lot of testing of the top of the channel very recently, so I would be a little cautious of that. It has this like mini channel inside the channel of this like trend line here. So I'd want to see it kind of like break itself out. It's sort of holding this this is about 75% or so of the way up the channel, maybe 80%. So that might be actually a good take profit area for you on that trend line because it's not doing a ton of testing of the top of the channel yet. Or it might be a good spot to take some profit, like a trim, and then rebuy on a dip that looks like it's going to hold. And I do know that I forgot to look at the indicators on the 3-month chart. So we'll go back and do that in a second after we finish up the 5-minute. So that's what I would play for now. Just play this channel until the channel breaks. And again, if the channel does break, like it fell out here, what you want to be looking for is like, how quickly does it start to move back up toward the bottom of the channel? Sometimes it jumps right back in. Sometimes it comes back and starts following the bottom bound of the channel back up, to which I'm always happy to hold through those situations because there's not much difference between it following the channel back up and it just being in the channel. It still is making, the bullish move. And oftentimes if it does do that, it hops itself back into the channel before too long. And so I'd watch, and the difference there is, if it were to come out and fall out of the channel here and keep moving sideways, what you want to be looking for is, say the price is right here. Say price is here, okay? And then it starts moving this way, okay? Now look at the distance between the box and the bottom bound. There's this much space, right? However much this space is. Now, if the price keeps moving sideways, it's not declining, but it's moving sideways. But the problem is the space between the box and the bottom bound of the channel is now much, much further apart. And that continues to happen as you go sideways. So the minute that it keeps going sideways and the distance between the channel and the price is only increasing, that's when I typically decide to jump out because it's getting further away from any hope that it's going to go re-enter that channel. So if my entire strategy was built around playing the channel, then I know that that channel is busted and I should take that as my stop loss and look for a new channel to form and play it from there. And sometimes that means you kind of like sit on the sidelines for a while and wait for something to form. So, I wouldn't really set a bunch of specific price targets while it's in the channel because honestly, the more accurate thing is just buy the dips toward the bottoms of the channel and sell, take profit at the top of the channel, rinse and repeat until the channel breaks. So let's look at the indicators and then we'll hop back to the 2-hour and do it there as well. So I can leave this up while we take a look at these. The MAs are all generally lined up. Well, I mean, they are lined up in a bullish stack right now. Oh, no, the 12 just crossed over the 20. Sometimes it's hard to see so much on the screen, but the 12, which is in orange, just crossed below the 20, which is in purple. So that is an initial sign of a bearish movement. So I would keep an eye on that. Definitely becomes additionally bearish if it then crosses the 50, which is in yellow. There is good distance between the red, which is the 180, the longer term support line, and the price action right now. And the nice thing about the red too is it is basically following the bottom bound of the channel. So the nice thing there could be if it does come down to test the bottom of the channel, it could not only have channel support, but it could also have longer term trend support, bouncing off the 180, simultaneously bouncing off the bottom bound of the channel itself. On the MACD, let's see if we have any higher highs that resulted in the MACD moving down, which would be a bearish divergence. So these were all higher highs. It's very slight movements, to which often aren't great indicators. They often tend to fool you more than anything. So like here's a slight one. You see this candle, there's a higher high here, and the MACD goes from 0.03 to 0.026 and then 0.024. So the prices, while these green candles were making slightly higher highs, the MACD was moving down slightly down here, the orange line. So I would watch out for that. Also, the bearish momentum is picking up. So if you look at this, the depth of this histogram versus the depth of the most recent one is deeper. A little bit, but it is deeper. And then the bullish momentum is dying down a little bit. So you see the height of this histogram here slightly higher than this one here. So I would be on the lookout for that. I would still prioritize the channel over the MACD, even with the bearish divergence, because again, even if it does get pushed down, you have the 180 support, the moving average 180 day support, and the bottom of the channel support, and they are right near each other, and so it will hopefully give it a good bounce level. On the RSI, we're mid-range, so 50, mid-range of the channel, basically, mid-range on the RSI, no big deal. But you do see that it's hit 80 here in the RSI, which is very high, especially for a stock that's been slaughtered so much, and 83 here. So this blue trend line that we drew in was actually where you saw some really high topping out on the RSI. So that would lead me to believe that until there is some more bullish momentum in Palantir, which would show up on the MACD, for example, I would probably tend to dip buy at the bottom of the channel and then sell out at this blue trend line. And just draw that from these peaks here that you see. Just connect those. Because it's getting so high in the RSI there, it does not have enough momentum, and it doesn't have the ability to get that overbought to push it all the way up here. So that's why we cut off this top, because if we had this upper bound way up here, I mean, this would only be like middle of the channel at best. So this is a more accurate representation of the channel. And this channel would still have a lot of room to grow, meaning it's kind of like a nascent channel. And that's why we're still seeing how it's going to kind of form. So we put this additional trend line in there as like our take profit zone until it proves that it can sort of explore the full bearings of the entire channel, because it's not quite there yet. So we'll see if it can mature and do that, basically. So let's hop back to the 3-month chart, 2-hour chart, take a look at our MAs. So let me get rid of these drawings because they're just distracting. They're going to confuse me. Okay, so here we have a bit of a mixed bag. So that the 12 and the 20 are lined up nice and are bullish. The 50 is the outlier here. You know, and the 180 has the longer term support underneath. So those are showing nice bullish movements. So what we're going to want to see here is we're going to want to see this 50 cross over the 180, and then everything will be nice and in alignment. You'll have orange, then purple, then yellow, then red. And that's the line up top to bottom that we want to see to have a full-fledged bullish lineup for the MAs. So a little bit of work to do there, but that could definitely happen tomorrow if we have a good push. On the MACD, all right, so good dying down of the bearish momentum. What I would look out for is definitely the bullish momentum is dying down, and there's not a ton of real estate between the MACD and the signal line right now, and this is looking like it's just going to kind of fall off. So this might, you know, give you a good opportunity, just like we were talking about with the channel that we were looking at. You know, this will probably give you a good opportunity for a dip buy coming up soon. This will probably cross over and come down, is what it's looking like. I don't know if there wasn't bearish divergence here, it looks like. No, there wasn't the bearish divergence here. So, you know, it might just come down to the bottom of that channel that we had on the 5-minute. So again, just sort of like back the video up and take a screenshot if you need that, but and then, you know, draw it in for yourself. But you know, it's looking like that channel would make sense even on this time frame, meaning not to draw the channel on this time frame, but that this crossover will happen. It'll give us a little dip. It'll probably align with like the 180 moving average and or the bottom of the channel on the 5-minute chart. That'll be our dip buy, and then we can ride it back up. So I think that these things are coalescing quite well. On the RSI, very high on the 2-hour. So definitely in overbought territory. So another signal that it may be coming back down. When it hit the overbought territory here before, which was 72, which is less than it is now, you know, it came back down just about, it didn't even touch mid-range. So that might be a good place to look for your dip buying opportunity, like somewhere around 50 on the RSI, 50, 55, to start looking at a dip buy opportunity for Palantir, sort of like a little starter position where you just kind of dip your toe in the water, knowing that if it continues down, you have more capital to average down if the trade is still looking good. But I would line it up based on sort of like the time frame that you're looking to trade it in and your goals and your own sort of like tolerance levels for risk to reward. But that's what I think Palantir is looking like at the moment. I definitely wish you the best if you're in this trade. Like I said, I'm currently in my longer term position only. If it continues this sort of activity, I'll probably look to take a shorter term position because I'm always looking for good stocks that have a lot of hype around them, a lot of attention on them, and are prone to being volatile when the sort of like, what's the, I can't think of the saying, but when sort of like everything lines up, it definitely has the opportunity to get very volatile, which is good for the short-term options trading that I like to incorporate into my overall strategy. All right, Rambling Dan is here, so I'm going to shut him down, and I'm just going to wish you a good luck I'm going to wish you the best of luck this week. I hope you enjoy your trading and that you do your due diligence and your homework and get all of those good things in as well and develop your good habits. All right, well, I hope you all have a good night and a great trading day tomorrow, and I will see you in the next video.